Alright guys, so today we are building a 20 gauge dual coil dual coil. That's what we're doing. We're going to take it in, take a look at it. I've already built it, like that part is done. I'm kind of living backwards, like Back to the Future or something here. But this is how she vapes. It chucks vapor pretty good off of it. I'm vaping a 50/50 e-liquid in this right now. Let me have a draw off of it and I'll show you how it vapes. It's pretty good. It chucks clouds well. 50/50 liquid, chucking clouds, huge. If you are going to replicate this build, make sure you have the proper batteries. Like you have something that's a 30 amp battery or a 35 amp battery, but it needs to have a pulsing rate that's higher. Like you need to have it hit like 60 amps because this does exceed the 30 amp limit, okay? Your batteries could be 30 amp continuous. As long as they could pulse up to like 60, you're going to be groovy on this for short bursts off of it, all right? Be safe when you're building. Know your limits and vape within it. Just like I always say, guys, let's take it in and we'll do the build. All right, guys, so for the build today, you're going to need some 20 gauge Kanthal, obviously. You're going to want to have an ohm checker, something to check your resistance so that you know that you're safe, okay? That you have no shorts, anything like that. Make sure you have one of these, okay? The next thing you're going to need is a screwdriver to wrap around. I'm going to be wrapping around a 2.4 millimeter screwdriver today. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver or an Allen wrench or whatever to tighten down your connections on your Addy as well. Another two things I like to have is a set of pliers to squeeze the coils up and a nice cutter to clip those leads at the posts. They are very important. We're going to be wicking with an organic cotton ball and we're going to trim that up with some scissors. That's pretty much all you need, except you're going to need an Addy to build on as well. This is a Patriot clone that I've got on a Sentinel from Grand Vapor. All right, so let's get into the build. We're going to need to take a piece of 22 gauge and get that cut to length. Kind of already messed this one up and it unraveled on me, this little reel of wire, which kind of sucks, but hey, what are you going to do? I like to have a healthy piece to work with. I'm probably going to cut off about an 8-inch piece. You can probably get away with a 6-inch piece as well. All right, so got your piece of wire. It's got a little bend in it from where I have it looped onto the reel. So I'm just going to cut that piece off. I'm not going to need it. Get that out of there. Okay, you can straighten this out. You can torch it if you want. I'm not going to, just to keep this video at a minimal length, okay? I like to have about an inch hanging over the end, something like that. And then I just start wrapping. Now 20 gauge is kind of like, it's pretty thick. It's like a paper clip to wrap this, but it does go where you want it to go, which is super nice. I'm going to shoot for 4 wraps on this. So that's my 4th one. I'm going to pull it, get it to where I want it, and bada bing, we are off to the races. So got my 4 wraps. We can put that through our post holes now. Get that in there. Sometimes if you're having difficulties pulling this through, it's because there's like a little bend in your wire. So I just kind of even it out and push it into where I want it to be and then give it a twist. We'll get it about where it needs to be. Well, try and hold it where I want it to be and then snug it up. gonna have to go back and tighten these leads anyway. Just always happens that way. I'm gonna try and push this towards the center a bit. It's a little difficult because I didn't torch this first, so it is a little springy and wants to go back to where it wants to go. All right, let's check the resistance. All right, so I got it on the ohm checker. It's going to come in at 0.19. Perfect. All right, so now that I've got this kind of situated whereabouts I want it, I'm just going to push it a little bit towards the center, just so I can get some even wicking on this guy. There it is. So that's pretty close to where I want it to be. I can probably clip this one leg off at this point. I'm going to take my cutters, give it a clip. Stab myself in the finger with it. All right, we can start firing this bad boy. Then give it a little bit of a pinch. One more time, check my leads. Don't want to have any shorts. There it is. Let's fire it up. Bam. Now if you give that a squeeze, it'll start heating up from the center out. It's going to burn off some of my old e-liquid first. Nice squeeze. And that should be good. Getting a hot leg, so I think my connection came loose. And that'll happen sometimes when your wire heats up. It'll expand everything. You got to give it another squeeze. And there it is. Perfect. Let's start wrapping up this other side. Okay, I'm going to lock this button again just so we don't fire it as we're wrapping. We're off to the races. So what I do is I take that 2.4 mil screwdriver again, put it in here, and I start wrapping around it. I like to make sure that this lead is just coming up a little bit on an angle. It'll just make life a little bit easier, and I'll kind of pull it over to the side where I want it to go to, and then I start wrapping. When you're wrapping this, you're gonna need a little bit of help on it. I take my pliers and I give it a little tug on the leg. Just hang on to it, get it to nearly where I want it to be, give it a good pull. Now I'm going to attempt to do my second wrap on here. Wrap around. And it is difficult. You're probably going to have to use your pliers on pretty much every wrap that you do just to give it kind of a yank and set those coils into place. There it is. Tighten it up. Put your next wrap in. Lather, rinse, and repeat. And that's going to be our fourth one. So for the last one, what you want to do is, I always put a little curve in it, just so it doesn't kink up when I pull it through the post hole. I'm going to make sure that the post is, I'm going to make sure that I throw my screwdriver on the floor and can't find it. Just going to make sure that the post hole is actually exposed on this one. And then what I do is kind of find where it is. I'm going to try and find a good angle here so that you can see it. And then I just put it into that post hole and pull it through. That's it. Sometimes what I do is I'll put my fingernail beside that last wrap just to make sure that it doesn't overlap as I tug it through. I'm going to grab the pliers, give it a pull. And give it a pull. I also like to kind of go back, make sure that there's no kinks in here as I'm pulling it. Put my fingernail in between that wrap, then that way it's not going to start overlapping. You can kind of grab the screwdriver with a couple of fingers and then yank at the same time. There it is. Then we got our last wrap on there. Mod's starting to come apart, but that's okay. Now is a good time to kind of check and make sure that all of your wraps are even. There's no kind of space in there or higher wraps than others. My positive always loosens off when I do this, so I tighten that up. Now with the other negative, you just tighten that up. I like to kind of pull that up a little bit just because it will tighten a little bit easier. A little bit less resistance against that screw. And it's going to naturally do that anyway. Alright? So that's it. It's a pretty simple build, but it is kind of tough to do. 20 gauge is like wrapping a paper clip, okay? You can do the same thing here now. Just kind of put it where you want it to be. I'll pull it down a little bit. And then I'm just going to push the butt end of the screwdriver against this to try and center it a little bit. Then we'll fire it up and give it a whirl. All right. That's going to be beautiful. All right, I'm going to cut this piece off now. We don't need that anymore. And we'll check the resistance one more time. All right, so I've got it back on the ohm checker again here. Usually this comes in at around 0.12, 0.09. Let's see what it is. So it's 0.09. All right, so I got it back onto my mech mod. Let's give it a fire. I'm just gonna unlock this button and we'll squeeze up that other coil. So that's the other coil we made. Get my pliers out and give that a squish. Actually, I'm probably going to give it a pinch before I even start to get that one leg to the negative post a little bit closer. All right, let's hit it up. It should fire up first. Very nice. Now that side's heating up. I'm just going to finish on this one first before I get going on that one. So, spin this around, give it another fire. This one's heating up more. So I'm going to pinch that, and that should take care of it. Well, now it's switching. Switching one more time. Alright, that should be it. I'm actually getting a hot spot here. So, this is how I'm going to fix it. Make sure everything's snug. Or else you're going to get hot spots, hot legs, and that's not cool. You get a burnt taste. All right, so that should be good now. Bam, perfect. It's heating up, very nice, very even. I'm going to wick this up with some cotton, and we'll have a vape off of it. Alright guys, so that was the build. This is how she vapes. Yeah, it steams off some good ass vapor on it. I'm just going to re-drip this. I haven't even had a pull off this yet. Put my top cap on. And let's have a draw. See how she goes. You can have really nice short pulls off this if you want, like half-second draws, and it just hammers the vapor, right? Little tiny pulls. It does go through e-liquid pretty fast though. Put a few more drops in there. Oh man, it's pretty badass. It is very, very badass. It hits super hard. Nice vape though. I'm gonna tell you, make sure you have the right batteries for this build. A 30 amp, it's exceeding 30 amps. It's exceeding 35 amps. I think it's around like 42 or 45 amps. So you want to make sure that you have a battery that has a pulsing discharge rate that's higher. Like the batteries I'm using right now have a pulse of up to 60 amps. So pulsing just means it can hit it for, you know, a few second bursts before it comes back down to that, you know, 30 or 35 amp continuous draw that it usually takes, okay? So make sure you're staying safe if you're replicating this build, my friends. It is awesome. It chucks clouds huge. I gotta say big ups to Killa Builda, who's been watching my videos. He got his Nemesis rocking with his new Nimbus, and he's gonna start building. I wouldn't suggest doing this build right out of the gate, but yeah, definitely do some stuff with like 28 gauge or 30 gauge wire and get your micro coils just dialed in right, and it's all gravy from there, buddy. All right? So, like I always say, my friends, bud out, vape up, and breathe easy. Know your limits and vape within it, and you're gonna have yourself a stellar day, my friends. I am out. You guys go and enjoy the day. Get out of here. Get off the computer or your cell phone or tablet. Like, get outside, y'all.